Hello and howdy everyone, and welcome to our Overwatch Contenders in our EU region, brought to you by Timeless Broadcast Project. My name is Crumble, and I'm joined today by my lovely friend and co-host Gio for our first match of the
Ooh.
round robin, Sheer Cold versus Raspberry Racers.
Oh boy, can you feel that summer air? It's a summer series of contenders getting off to a bang. And because of the Times Broadcast Project, we're here on Sheer Cold's Twitch for the debut stream. It's an exciting time here in Tier 2 EU EU2. It's incredible. I'm so excited, and there is a whole plethora of matches that are going to be going on for the entirety of this tournament. It's a whole new series of contenders, and you never know what teams, what players are going to prove themselves to be the futures of Overwatch in general.
Yeah, and I mean, when it comes to these players, there's a lot of new players on a lot of these rosters, and Sheer Cold and Raspberry Racers are no exception to that. Pretty much cleaning house. I believe that the only exception is Raspberry Racers still have Gustav, which I believe they've been on the team for a while. So most teams have pretty much cleaned house. So we're seeing a lot of new synergies being built, a lot of new heroes coming out into the limelight. And you can see all of our list of teams here.
Yeah, zeros across the board because we're right at the start, and
Right at the
truly,
start.
you get the feeling anything can happen, and the schedule of matches goes on throughout the entirety of Contender Series, where you can catch it on the mainstream, you can catch it on the partnered streams of the Timeless broadcast. There's a whole lot more contenders to be seen this series than any other series beforehand. So that's why it's so exciting for these teams to be able to show what they've been cooking. And that's what Sure Cold have said. They said on Twitter to me, Crumble, that they cannot
Directly.
wait. Yeah, directly. They can't wait to show what they've been cooking. So they've got something up their sleeve, and I'm excited to get into it. And as you said, Sheer Cold's roster, it's a little newer, right? All of the players are coming in the summer series here, so it's a new spread of players. So they're going to have a whole lot of energy. Obviously, when you get a whole new roster, though, you have to worry about synergies and stuff. These players do go back, but as a roster on Sheer Cold, they are fairly new together. Same with Raspberry Racers, right? Like you said,
Yeah.
only Gustav staying on from the spring series, with the rest of them coming in pretty new. But of course, you're now leaning on those veteran players to kind of help the team, get that synergy up.
Yeah, and these teams have actually met before. In the spring stage, they met in the group stage, and I believe they also met in the playoffs as well.
Yes.
Yes, they met in the playoffs as well. So they've interacted with each other on multiple accounts last season. Here's your sheer cold roster opening up. We've got NKZ, Condi, Zodiel, Tribor, and Yoham. And sheer cold, they do have a two tank line roster. They've got Jaru and they've got NKZ, which is maybe why they're cooking a little bit. Jaru known for the main tanks, that monkey, the Reinhardt primarily. So maybe NKZ coming in here. I doubt we'll see the Hog, but maybe we'll see kind of more of the Diva, maybe Sigma, moving into off-tank territory where maybe that's where they're cooking. Maybe they're looking to just have a very diverse roster where they can switch people in and out.
And speaking of tank lines, Raspberry Racers have J. Caru on
The
their
man, the
tank
myth.
line. Yeah, player for Team GB in the World Cup at the moment, a very strong player leading the charge. However, the only tank on Raspberry Racers. So, in terms of comparing rosters, you've got the flexibility of two tanks on Sheer Cold, where you only have the one on the side of Raspberry Racers. That does, change how you play. And like I said, Gustav's the only one that's staying on from the spring series, and you're expecting, them to have a good synergy with the coach line, with the managers. So I'm excited to see what Raspberry Racers have cooking, because surely they've got something cooking, or maybe not cooking, in the sweet factory.
In the Sweet Factory, in their
Yeah.
engine, raring to go. And I think it's quite telling. It's quite nice that we're right at that start line, and we've got Raspberry Racers for our first match. And yeah, I mean, being the only person kept on the team and being a support player, maybe we're seeing some Crimzo type stuff of being that like team leader on the support line, which you love to see. We often see tanks leading teams primarily, so it's nice to see supports
Yes.
do that a little bit as well. And I mean, this is their debut stream, if you want to call that, Sheer Cold on their Twitch. This is a fresh Twitch account, and it's really like this is their match for both teams to really set the the snowball it might be, or maybe it'll be a race car that builds up a lot of speed and momentum. That
Yeah, you're
these
really
teams
getting
are
there.
even. I'm getting there with this analogy somehow, some way. These teams are 5-5 in their match history with each other. So this being the opening match, the decider, pressure's really on for these two teams, I think.
Yeah, especially Sheer Cold. This is their debut stream on their Twitch that they have just made, I
Just
believe,
made.
yesterday, right? So
Yeah.
get the follows in.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
yeah, so there was a lot of stakes there for Sheer Cold. They're technically on home ground, right? This is their home stadium. And these teams, they're completely equal in the history of contenders. If you go back and look at the matches that they played against each other, they are 5-5. They're as close as two teams can be, and the difference is Sheer Cold eliminated Raspberry Racers from the playoffs in the Spring Series, so that's got to be on the minds of Raspberry Racers, right? I mean, I know it's a mostly new roster, but still, that's got to sting.
Gustav's got to get the revenge for their old teammates, possibly. That might be the call. But yeah, and having won more recently as well, that's obviously, like you say, still going to sting a little bit for Raspberry Racers. But hopefully we will see them come out on top. We'll just have to see once we get in. I know that players sometimes like to, really tease us. But it looks like soon we might be coming onto our first map, which looks to be Antarctic Peninsula.
Yeah, we're really starting it with the cold, aren't we? With the Sheer Cold package and Antarctic Peninsula being that first map. So, can you really call it the Summer Series? Because, I feel a chill coming. And
It's a little chilly.
Antarctic Peninsula, I enjoy this as a first map. It really will dictate what compositions that these teams have been working on and bringing out to show. Obviously, we know that the dive with the Somber Tracer has been a very strong combination lately, with Monkey being a very prominent main tank, and we're now getting a little look at what Raspberry Racers and Sheer Cold are getting at. And so far, both are teasing to go a little bit more brawly. It's that EU sentiment, right? No matter how meta
We
dive is,
try to force the Ryan. That is what we
Yes.
want.
the EU brawl comps, they will never leave us, Grumble.
They never will. And we open up with this this adjacent brawl. We have the Ryan versus the Ramatra, and identical other than that. And we often see the Ramatra come out on top just for the sustain that he can provide.
And the sheer damage output, Exodial. But careful there on the off angle, looking for those one shots with the Hanzo. Both Hanzo's going to be looking for those keen picks at the beginning of these fights as they tee off here at range.
Really respecting the Ramatra. I think just the tanks really respecting each other, giving themselves a lot of space. Now the point has been unlocked. It's just poking and prodding for now. Really trying to force out the Nemesis form early is what you want to try to do, as Jarrett is falling low already. Is really holding on to it. Now we see the push coming in from Sheer Cold. They're looking to walk in, force the Immortality field very, very early, as well as the wall that Raspberry Racers have had to use in order to kite back. We see the opening pick come out onto the Mei, and somehow the Reinhardt comes out on top. We don't normally see that, Gio, but it is nice and very reminiscent to see it happen.
Well, that's part and parcel to Cloud coming in clutch and getting that elimination at the start against the opposing Mei. Once you don't have a Mei against a team that has a Mei, you are at such a disadvantage in that close encounter because you don't have a wall to counter the wall, and you're just being sprayed by this endodynamic faster. You're getting slower, you're getting more damage. It ain't fun.
It's just a lot of CC and a lot of space that the Mei creates, isn't it? So, absolutely, as you're right, we're going to have to keep our eyes on these Mei walls. Sheer Cold really keeping their space here. They've now switched onto the Ryan as well, but they have to respect this window. And in that close quarters environment, we will see who comes out on top of the Hanzos. I mean, not a lot of places for those arrows to go in these close spaces. And even if it was open, like a desert, I'm sure they'd still be hitting these arrows.
Yeah, and
Big
utilizing
play.
the window nice and early from a Draco just helped them secure that one. And you can tell Sheer Cold, they have a bit of a patience about them. They're not going in uh, swinging. They're being patient. They're trying to let this Hanzo choice of theirs kind of get an elimination or find an opportunity or get a good wall with the Mei. But they'll be pushing right into a Blizzard. With theirs not ready, neither is their beat.
Dragon Use trying to force the rotation a little bit wider. They have to go onto the left side there. Window Use going to be countered by the Blizzard. They're not going to be able to utilize that now. Freezing up is the side of Sheercold. You see the beat coming out from Raspberry Racer. They want to keep this steady grip on the point as best they can. Shatter now available for Jakaru and close for Jaru. It's really eyes on the Ryans here, but gets frozen up by the Blizzard. Sheercold, they managed to kite back, and now they're coming back in stronger than ever. Jakaru falls, your main tank is down. 90% and ticking here, all to play for in this first round for Sheercold as they get the flip. Just stragglers left.
Brilliant positioning by Yoham to get that window down as the Blizzard was coming up. It forced Raspberry Racers to respect the damage that could come through that window and allowed Sheer Cold to just rotate away from that Blizzard, allow Condi enough time to get their own, and that's what allowed them to get control. However, 95% is on the board for the Racers, and they are looking for a window setup, possibly a Shatter. Stripper needs to get a good beat off if that Shatter does sneak through.
Yeah, they're just going to go aggressive with it, and they do manage to counteract the Shatter with it, but not in time for Jaru to, unfortunately, have their life taken. Like I say, has fallen, so it's a bit of an even outer, but with Sheercold having lost their main tank, it doesn't look good for them. Jakaru gets even out, though, and this window, these Baptistes, they just know exactly where to place them, exactly how to space out and pressure. And yeah, I mean, I told you I should be on the maze, and Condi's definitely making me feel that was a very good call.
Yeah, keeping it cold and cool. These Mays are controlling.
Very on theme.
Yeah, I know, right? Very thematic. Everyone got a little handout for what the story would be. And the players are playing their part perfectly. Sheer Cold is likely to bring this to overtime. If you're looking at Raspberry Racers, they can potentially build up a Blizzard and get control of the point, but it's going to be tough pushing into this Dragon and Jaru with the Shatter.
I mean, this whole rotation from Sheer Cold is pretty much exactly what you want, right? You've got that balance of defensivity and a bit of attack. The Dragons are going to come out first, trying to space them out. Just trying to tick the time bank down a little bit. Shatter is obviously still available for Jaru. Haven't even seen that hammer land on ground quite yet in this round from Jaru. Here comes the Blizzard. They're going to be using it aggressively, actually, walking in with it. They managed to get out, and here comes the opposing Blizzard. Condi taken, and the Shatter has been blocked, Gio. And if that's not a nail in the coffin, I don't know what is. But possibly Sheer Cold, having forced back themselves, rotated around, they might be able to get things back in their favor. It's very back and forth, but the beat and the window use support ults are great at keeping this fight going, keeping these teams in play. Sheer Cold, they really have to use everything they can, every ounce to keep
I'll drive
alive.
Comes
and
in.
yeah, takes out the Baptiste.
The fight is still going, but Raspberry Racers, they just have too much control right now, and they will complete it there in overtime. A nice adaptation at the end from Jakaru to make sure to get that touch and eliminated the potential of Sheer Cold's backline getting a hold of things. And so far, we're really seeing these two teams get a feel for each other. That's the real story behind everything. They're playing patient initially. They're checking what their opponents are up to. There's a very kind of careful way that they've been playing.
Methodic. It's very methodical.
Yeah,
they're very.
methodical.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to put it. Yeah, I agree entirely. I mean, that's what you kind of have to do at the start of the series now.
Well, a little bit of a swap up here for the Raspberry Racers, going for this Sojourn Monkey. And going on to the Tracer as well. This is going to be a comp about, Sojourn following up on the damage done by this Tracer and the Monkey as they dive in, but they have to be very careful of this Mei Reaper combo that could devastate any dives.
Yeah, I mean, Sheer Cold are basically just playing the W key. If it was a composition, they can just walk in. Yeah, there you go. There they go, marching down through the flank, looking to try pressure out the backline, but a good protection there of Andraco by Jakaru. They're going to look to take control of the point. Sheer Cold, they have a lot of sustain, but they don't have a lot of burst damage, which is going to be the issue.
Yeah, well, they will have more point control, however, walking
Ooh.
on with the Nemesis form, pushing them off, Crumble.
Yeah, that's a lot of damage for a monkey to take from that Nemesis form. Already forcing the Wraith. Good nade, opening up the fight possibly for Andreyko. They've still got that point control. They're just sitting on the high ground. They've set up Alexei, and there you go. Finds Condi with the May gone. Now you don't have that cryo freeze kind of being applied onto you. Jakaru can move around a little bit more freely, and that high, I mean, set up the Sojourn on the high ground, and you'll reap the rewards. And there you are.
Yes, and completely thwarted the push there from Sheer Cold. Essentially, baited them into where they wanted, created that nice kill box on the point, and like you said, they had the Sojourn set up and just dealing that mega damage. Now they have plenty of win conditions. They have this Nano ready, likely to be going on to Jkaru, of course, with that Sojourn ultimate, the Overclock ready to just devastate. Johan, they can keep the team alive, but there's not a lot of burst healing with that Coalescence.
Wait, hold on. Did the nano boost Geo just got cancelled by the hack? I do
Really?
not. I think it did. I
What?
did not. Yep, and we've got confirmation. The nano boost was actually cancelled, but somehow Raspberry Racers still got point control. I mean, that's the. I mean, I think that says it in tenfold. They have an ult cancel, but they still managed to keep things together.
All Anna's avert your eyes.
Ooh.
Don't look. The nano was cancelled by the hack, but thankfully the overclock is still a very strong ultimate in itself for the Raspberry Racers, and Alexei was able to keep it going for themselves. However, this is going to be an overtime fight. Sheer Cold have just swapped over. They don't have any of these key aggressive ultimates yet, especially as EMP.
If they can charge it up somehow in this last fight, it would be great. But as Strybov falls early, you don't have that speed, not enough maneuverability, and Johan falls as well. No backline to keep the team alive. Jaru soon in turn falls too. And it seems that Sheer Cold are melting in front of our eyes, Gio, and Raspberry Racers show us a very good showing in round 2. Closing out Antarctic Peninsula for us.
Yeah, they're going to close this one up, and so far they're looking sweet on this composition of the monkey. They're looking just very comfortable in creating space for that Sojourn, and, you know, just allowing Alexei here, who got play of the game, of course, they did, to just hone in on that DPS. And here it is, yeah.
That's why you just don't leave like a tier 2 player on a high ground. You gotta contest it some way, because they will hit the shots. And Alexei,
well, that's the thing. Initially, Sheer Cold had that very brawly team, so it was either they contest point and force them off it, or they try and sweep the high ground. But either way, you know, there's so much mobility on the side of what Raspberry Racers had initially that Sheer Cold, they were always going to struggle to follow up. So yes, definitely so far we're seeing Raspberry Racers, they seem to have a better grip of the more kind of dive maps here, where Sheer Cold, they seemed a lot more equal on the likes of, you know, that kind of rain brawl that we saw in the initial map. And I have seen that our next map is already chosen, and we will be going to Numbani. So that's going to play into those dives a lot more as well. I mean, sure, I know an EU team could find a way to force,
brawl, probably.
yeah, TP to the high ground, you know, all that crazy stuff. But no, you're expecting those kind of dive compositions to come in again, potentially now with the Echoes, which is a very strong choice for DPS dive right now. You know, that Echo Tracer. Potentially on defense, you could play the Echo Ash as well. Ash is still very strong at getting that poke damage and, of course, the Dynamite. That is also a strong choice. Also, the Coach Gun just kind of cancels those dives. So as we go into Numbani, you know, a betting man might say, the base of what we've seen, Raspberry might have the advantage here.
Yeah, I think that, like you say, just to emphasize that point, they just looked, and like the key word that you said is comfortable. They just knew where to play. Jakaru, obviously, you know, quite literally a world-class, you know, tank player, and just seemed to know when they need to kite back and protect Andreyko. Like when Sheer Cold did that long initial rotation, was able to jump back and protect their backline. Really good at following up on damage from Alexei as well, who's now on this Ashe. And having seen their Sojourn performance, Gio, I'm going to be scared for Sheer Cold.
Yeah, and I talked extensively there about why the Ashe is such a good pick, and not going for the diva is actually something that I think is a preference of mine overall. I just like how fast the monkey can play and how they can trade. And Jikaro, I mean, we know Jikaro is comfortable on the monkey, right? But now Cold, they're coming out. They're actually bringing out the Hanzo to complement the Echo, looking to potentially set him up on the high ground here and look to contest the Ashe at that long range.
Yeah, they're really going to have to set up those multiple angles to really try pincer that damage, really pressure out that backline, follow up on that damage nicely. So far, it's just this poke stage, just kind of looking for the engage. And that anti-nade from Cold, very good to open things up. Yoham somehow finding that. Got the angles, trigonometry tests just all 100%. And Gyro falls early. This high ground, it's just so damn strong. I mean, but it's just the aim and the just class of Raspberry Racer's DPS lineup.
There was just a small misplayed there by Jaru, which caused them to take too much damage, and that was that the bubble came up so early, and they stayed on high ground, and the bubble dropped to the low ground, so they were just taking too much damage, and they didn't have a way to cover themselves, and the defense of Raspberry Racers, they were able to follow up on it.
Yeah, there comes the dive again. Jaru really going nice and aggressive. They're taking this high ground, and they're really trying to claim that space. A kite from Raspberry Racers helps keep their backline alive, and with a trade, they might be able to come through and re-engage this, but yeah, that high ground in confirmation of that Hanzo.
Exodial is just absolutely dominating right now, and does Hanzo find those 2 eliminations, and that elimination onto Alexei, it's not been traded out. The advantage for the attacking team.
I don't understand how this backline is still alive, Gio. Just it seems that time and time again they have the good sustain. It looks like we're having some technical difficulties, I believe. But
yeah,
we'll get back to that soon. But
yeah, with that
so
dragon that was just placed, that has the potential of, I didn't quite see if it did or not, to cut off the Ana and the Brigida and kind of secure them that point. And it looks like that is still ongoing. The fight's still going on.
So it's still tough. Yeah, there goes the primal used by Gyro trying to sustain this fight. They have the nano boost online if they want to use it. Bobcast onto point. They've got the stall. Now they can focus on properly regrouping, getting into position. Exodial on that high ground. Arrows flying. Not one missing at all. We see the Ana falling on the side of Cold. If they can re-engage, then this might be winnable for Raspberry Racers, but they just don't quite have the time to. As first point gets capped and 4 minutes in the bank for Cold.
Put the respect where it is due. Exodial was finding all of those eliminations whenever they needed it, and Cold have found themselves a very, very strong and capable DPS as they continue to push hard here on point 2.
You see a bit of a trade come out here, but I mean, it's early in the fight, so it's really kind of, we don't want to see trades coming out in terms of Raspberry Racers getting kills, because that actually stops the momentum. And I'm eating my words here because that's exactly what's happening, right? So we see trades come out, and then Raspberry Racers, they get the better of it, and they stop the momentum.
And Raspberry Racers are going to have this Brigida ult to kind of keep their backline alive once this dive's initiated, and get a good trade. Yoham not quite at the nano yet for Cold. Getting to it, does have it now. Could initiate, pull the trigger.
Yeah, they've got a lot of resources just to stop this avalanche from falling, and headshot is one of those if you want to play it. And that card has been put down onto the table. Jaru even jumping out doesn't feel that they're comfortable engaging even with the nano boost online. And they've still held on to this rally, Geo, so even with a re-engage, they have enough to keep them going.
Yeah, and there's the rally initiated, keeping them sustained for this fight and forcing a retreat there from Cold. Look at that widescreen, just hold that front line. And Cloud is thinking about engaging there with that pulse bomb, is ready, but I mean, really the main thing here for Raspberry Racers is that they have this Primal Rage and Nano, 2 tools that can keep Jikaru alive if they go deep.
Yeah. Just rotate their ores very well, and you see they're jumping out, giving them the space, looking to possibly re-engage with a nano boost.
Ooh. Very close to finding and Draco there with an arrow, looking for an off angle here, potentially for the dragon.
Yeah, goes for the dragon. Is actually able to catch off the Ana, so that nano boost is gone. Very well placed there, and with the rest of the backline gone as well, Gustav has been taken out. It's all eyes on the 3 remaining members of Racers. Can they keep things together without any healing? As Cold, they don't have any, I believe, in the fight either. So it's just these 2 monkeys primaling out either side's DPS, and
it's a juggle party
it
from these Vincent. Yeah, an absolute circus, but right now the Juggle Party is going the way of Jaru and the team of Sheer Cold. They're getting some movement here, and Draco's really held on to this nano. It's allowed Yoham to get theirs in return, so it's going to be an equal fight here, but Trebor with the rally is going to keep their backline alive compared to the other.
Yeah, I feel Johan charging up these nano boosts so damn quickly is really what's helping Sheercold keep that momentum going, just allowing Jaru to survive. And here goes either nano boost monkeys going onto either backlines. Jakaru finds two though, and it's well dealt with by Erasers as they manage to kite back and the backline remains alive. And that's just what I feel the difference is. Racers, I mean, and Draco and Gustav, they just seem to never die.
Well, unfortunately for Sheer Cold, they weren't able to utilize that rally to keep themselves alive. Now it's their only tool moving forward. We're below a minute here on point 2 of Numbani, and Raspberry Racers have shown a very keen instinct to hold here and not let them get forward to that third point. Stop their movement here.
Yeah. They've still got control of this high ground, which isn't really being contested much. They've now switched onto the Ashe Zodial, able to more directly take on Alexei. But, I mean, still on this high ground, throwing down Dynamites, being able to have so much damage. Triple is going to have to use that rally to keep them going. Zodial, whether it's on the Ashe or the Hanzo, seems to be managing to get the kills, picking them up left and right. Jared following up on that damage as well. They have the rally from Gustav, and I think it's really all in vain. Geo is Sheer Cold. They're ready to invest all their ultimates. They're ready for, you know, coming on to third point. It looks like that's exactly what's going to happen.
Well, yeah, the advantage was on their side there. Didn't have to invest the Primal Rage, so that's going to be something going in their way as we head into third point with 90 seconds. And if you're wanting to secure this map, you need to be going quick here and making sure you're not getting caught up. Basically, you imagine that Jaru is going to go nice and deep here, going to have this nano from Yoham. It's how Raspberry Racers have constantly counter-dove, though. That's the story. They're always finding the edge.
Just managed to know when that nano boost is coming in and just rotate away from it. Alexei falls early, caught out position by that Primal Rage and the whip shot. I don't know how, and how is Andreko still alive? Being juggled around and Jaru still doesn't manage to find the kill. Gustav is there, the reinforcements, the backline. It's so damn sturdy.
Yeah, that's the Brigida for you. Making a glass cannon made of obsidian, basically. We're at 30 seconds again. Sheer Cold, they have the tools, but Raspberry Racers, they've got just a toolbox. It's going to be a tough one here to keep in. And Alexi's even swapped over to the Bastion for a last-minute hold.
Dangerous. Nano Bastion, possibly. But Nano Boost isn't going to be anywhere in sight. It's Zodiac that opening things up, taking out that honor nice and early, allows Sheer Cold to really just take as much damage as they want, because the other side don't really have their heals, and you can see that J.K. forced to use the Primal. That Bastion not able to come out and really use the turret form to dish out enough damage, being pressured out. Cloud was forgotten. Apparently in this fight, it's found 3 and is floating, levitating above the others as they managed to clean things up here for Raspberry Racers, who hold in on the defense on third point.
Yeah, that was cloudy days for Sheer Cold there, as maybe the attention was split for just enough for Cloud to get their way in there surgically and just remove one player at a time, very snappy, and get that pulse bomb. I mean, Alexei didn't quite get what they wanted with the Bastion. Most of that turret mode was spent just breaking the barrier of the Winston, which isn't exactly what you want. But maybe it was a distraction enough.
Yeah, maybe it was a distraction. Who knows?
Yeah, right now, Raspberry Racers, they're looking like they're having cleaner engages with less casualties across the board than the side of Sheer Cold. As you mentioned, Gustav and Andreko are just holding that backline strong together. It may be with string, but it's being held together.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's just something about Gustav just on that brig. Just, you know, if I was Andreko with that kind of brig, I'd feel like I'd live forever, because that's kind of what is happening. You know, Jaru engaging with a nano boost and Gustav saying, no, you're not going to kill my honor anytime soon, so you might as well just leave. And that forces Jaru to have to jump back and forces them to have to use so much cooldowns of keeping Jaru alive, because they're having to stay so long in the backline.
I love the communication between the teams. Just like, are you on Echo? Yes, you better not be lying. But
camaraderie.
yeah, it is Echo for Alexi, and Cloud is actually on the Tracer. So compared to that Hanzo that we saw Sure Cold engage with, you're looking for Cloud to get round on that high ground, but you see Jaru just absolutely holding that flank.
Already a lot of space, but having to force back the Echo very, very nicely. And with Zodiel on this Ashe, like we say, it's a good counter for this Echo, especially not having a Mercy Pocket. Alexi's going to be very, very careful and really only engage with their Monkey. And we see that the damage coming through, being used. But yeah, there's Zodiel. Will hit those shots, and there goes your Echo. Just doing so much damage on this Ashe.
Yeah.
And yeah, forcing back the engage.
And that's why you go for an Ashe. Just so much DPS output, and also the the slight mobility of the coach gun to be able to get away from those dives when they come in, and that's what Raspberry Racer is going to have to deal with as Gustav goes down when backing up. That's a stagger you don't want. Oh,
yeah, they do trade out Zodiel though with a nice nade placed by Andreka. They're able to follow up on that, and Raspberry Racers, we've seen it before. They find damage, they find a cooldown, and they find the follow up. They close this nano boost. And they have the resources to be able to push in, getting close to it. Jaru falls, caught out position again with Alexi back, not being deterred by the Ashe this time. And able to follow up on the dive nicely. As 2 segments in counting, I don't know if there's a touch here for Sheer Cold.
yeah, this one is going to get a touch here just in time by Condi though, in the back. It's if Sheer Cold can get a grip, they're very close to Bob, which will get them some time.
And there goes the Bob, placed onto point. Nano boost has been placed on Jakaru as well, looking for just the backline. Jumping in, got the primal as well, is going to be slapped up, but space has been made as Jaru now traded out. If you are being tossed around, Geo, in the back, then unfortunately you cannot focus your healing onto the Monkey. And I think that's just kind of just what's been going on with Raspberry Racers. They just managed to distract the back so much that Jaru just unfortunately falls to that.
Jakaru's having an absolute field day right now. Raspberry Racers are looking hella comfortable here on this sort of composition. And, they are getting hit. They're losing players to Exodial, but I think Exodial slightly overextended to get that pick. They thought they could, keep that aggression up, but Jakaru was right there with the Tezzakaon to tell them, it ain't like that, bro. And Raspberry Racers, they're pushing forward here. They've got this rally to protect their backline, but I'm very curious to see if Alexa goes for the Monkey duplicate and goes in deep.
We'll have to see that. Respecting this rally a lot, they're noticing that Sheer Cold want to invest some ultimates here, and they're waiting before they re-engage. Like you say, looking for this copy is Alexi. Does copy the Monkey, which will help them possibly penetrate that high ground a little bit better. And yeah, they're able to get onto it, but not able to really proceed after that, as there's a lot of damage. If you leave that Ashe on the high ground, we've seen it before in the previous round, that it's too scary. You can't walk into it, so they're going to have to find a way to combat it, whether that's just setting up Cloud on the back or not. Jakaru does have the nano boost. Maybe they can use that to dismantle that high ground position. As Jaru, yet again, falls low as the backline is distracted by Jakaru. There's no healing available, but they do trade out, so there's no Monkey on either side. But it seems that even in those situations, Raspberry Racers, the DPS, managed to hold things in their hands. And there you are. Moving on to the third point is the Racers.
There was a potential there for Jaru to use the Primal Rage. It's hard to tell in the moment, right? But if the Primal Rage came through, Conde did immediately get a pick. It's possible that Jaru could have juggled Gustav away and at least forced a rally or a pulse bomb to come out from Raspberry Racers. Because now with 4 minutes in the time bank, they're looking at not even needing to fully complete this point. And they've got so much time in the bank, and they're able to just build these ultimates and essentially go for an ult dump.
Yeah, I mean, in this situation, that is kind of what you want to be going for. Pulse bomb plays down, not able to find anyone. Gustav, as usual, protecting the back. It will be Cloud finding the honor, though, so you've seen Cloud being able to stick these pulse bombs before, and this one is no different. Bob placed down is actually going to force Alexi into a very difficult position. Being pressured out by the Bob and the Tracer at the same time. Managed to get it back, and a small kite for Raspberry Racers as they look to regroup.
Daru used the Primal Rage. Didn't get exactly what they were looking for from it, though. But, that's a bit of an overstep from Alexi. Or was it a bait? Goes for the duplicate.
Yeah, now Jaru forced to use the jump to just get back in, and now can't get out. These kill boxes that are being set up by Raspberry Racers are so expert. They have the rally in retaliation to Raspberry Racers, and Strebel is actually going to be walking straight in, does find the trade onto the Ana, so that is definitely great news there for Sheercold. They get to re-engage without having to worry about the Ana. Not a good sustain for the Raspberry Racers, but Chikaru having the Primal Rage, I don't know if that's even going to be an issue.
Yeah, well, Condi's doing their best to try and keep this one alive. 1 HP and a dream, and they do it. And that was very close, because Raspberry Racers, they pulled Jaru exactly where they want him to, in that high ground, having used those cooldowns so they could follow up. That was very scary there for Sheercold. But holding in is going to give them some time here. 2 minutes on the board, and they're going to have to be careful because they don't have any support ultimates to deal with the upcoming nano engage.
Yeah, and the Primal will be opening things up as Strebel gets sent into the stratosphere off the map. Goodbye. And they don't even need the Nano Geo.
Yeah.
They're just that aggressive with their dives. I feel we were talking on Antarctica Peninsula about how both teams were kind of seeing what each other are doing, poking, prodding, being a little bit patient, but it seems that Sheercold still are playing a little bit like that, whereas Raspberry Racers, they're not pulling any punches anymore. They're just going in for it as much as they like.
And there's the Winton. Yeah, I mean, when I saw this, I was ready to be like, oh, the sleep off the map. But there's just a little notch.
There are some spots like that. There's some nook and crannies. Okay.
I tell you what, any Ana players that are watching this broadcast, they're actually screaming. They're probably already tweeting or in the Reddit because they have not had good fortune. They've had their nano hacked. They've had their sleep off the map broken by just a small little notch that exists.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Very unfortunate, and also for Sheercold, because right now, Raspberry Racers are getting that vengeance for what we talked about at the start of this broadcast. Sheercold eliminated the Raspberry Racers from the playoffs in the spring series. This is vengeance right now for Raspberry Racers, and for Sheercold, in their home stand, essentially, in their home Twitch, to need to now reverse sweep if they want to win here. And, you know, it's terrible for your standings if you get swept. Like, that's not good in any situation. So Sheercold, they probably want to take a breather here and, you know, recognize, you know, they're against the wall, they're in the corner. But that's when people start to fight even harder, and perhaps that's what's going to bring out of the players what they need in terms to start to turn this around. It's going to be a long journey if they want to do it, but it needs to start now.
Yeah, I mean, if we just really come on to any maps or any scenarios where, you know, these teams aren't playing dive, I feel that's where Sheercold kind of have a little bit more of a chance to nullify what might be a sweep from Raspberry Racers, because we saw them go pretty much toe-to-toe, sorry, not head-to-toe. We saw them go toe-to-toe on the first round of Antarctic Peninsula, where they were both playing brawl compositions. It was 99 to 99. If we go onto King's Row or something at some point in the series, I don't know. We can't go to King's Row. We've done a hybrid. Maybe Colosseo, you know, something a little bit more brawly where they can play the Ramattra nicely, or the Reinhardt that we saw as well. That would be good for them, I think.
Well, yeah, you know, it's not a great spread of escort maps if you're a big fan of playing very close range compositions, especially not right now, because, you know, your map pool is Circuit Royale, Dorado, Route, and Gibraltar. So, you know, there's lots of opportunities there to go for more of a sniper map, and Route 66 is one where you can play a little bit of a different kind of dive. You can bring out a wrecking ball and get a lot done. You can close hold on Route 66 if a brawl. It's a potential that Sheercold might do that, because we saw that they were pretty good with the brawl. That's where it was most equal on Antarctica. And that's the last point where it's been very equal. So since then, once we swapped onto these more dive-oriented compositions, it has not gone Sheercold's way. But Route 66, is this where we can turn it around from the Antarctic Peninsula all the way to Route 66? It's a completely different climate. It's feeling proper summery now.
We're just traveling them all together, Gio. We're going all sorts of places.
Look at us.
All sorts.
Look at us.
Traveling.
And look at these players. Raspberry Racers, potentially, it does, well, I say potentially, I mean, out of the spawn, so Alexi's opening up with the Widowmaker. And
Mm.
that's terrifying because, yeah, sure, Widowmaker got a little bit of nerf, can't quite shoot at the farthest range that they have been before. Well, neither can Sombra because they've swapped. I've been baited. I've been fully baited. But yeah, this is the composition I was talking about.
Guys, I'm sorry. That
I was
it
talking about.
happens to the best of us.
I know, right? It had to happen. But
All your
this
analysis.
Tracer, this Tracer Sombra setup is something that we've seen a lot in the World Cup with all the World Cup teams. It's deadly, it's nasty, but it's efficient, and that's why Raspberry Racers are playing it. Still with the Ana Brig though.
I don't blame them. It's a strong backline as we've seen so far. Just Gustav, just so damn consistent on this Brigitte. Already that Sombra doing a lot from Alexei, controlling that Mega, not allowing them to really stay in that tunnel as much as they'd like. Struggling to even find a dive.
And so for Alexei, getting a little bit better of the builds to the EMP so far, but neither Sombras are getting too much sway.
Well, no recall, so just got to be careful there. And then they know it, they're trying to fresh out the Tracer. Bubble Force, pretty early in the fight from Jakaru, so now Jaru can look to kind of cleave a little bit better. Dive comes out, but it's forced back. Gustav hits that damn whip shot, Gio. This is what I'm talking about.
Yeah, the Brigitte controls the backline, that's why you pick it. For a while there, you would see a lot of, Kurikus and stuff, but now the Ana, it just gets so much value with, the anti-nade and the core win condition is the nano. This is rough. You thought the fight was over, but they're taking it all the way to sheer cold spawn. I'll tell you what, the Raspberry Racers, who might have an advantage in this map because there's a road, they are looking very, very tight and coordinated here. They've got this EMP and Nano as well, and you've got to imagine you're prepared and ready for it. But it's EMP, you see Alexei just waiting to pull the trigger on it.
Looking to catch them out when they're right about to go for engage. Actually, looks at EMP the backline. They take out Johan nice and early. And with the Brig playing the front line, they look for that kill as well. Nano boost onto the Brigitte. Nothing warms my heart more. But they do actually lose their Ana, so they might have to be forced to use a rally here in this next fight if their Ana's not back in time.
Yeah, but it's turning around. Alexei goes down. An opportunity has arisen for Shield Cole to get back into this one without needing to use those ultimates initially. There will be a retouch, so you're expecting this EMP to get set up for Shield Cole and the follow-up to be there. I mean, there's even a Nano there if you really wanted to secure that fight.
I mean, I still think that Gustav might be able to hold things together with the rally. I have faith in this Brigitte player. Opens things up, allows that extra health for the backline. EMP comes through. It's found the Sombra, and it's found Gustav. Alexei gets taken out early, but with Johan taken out, barely being able to cast that Nano Boost. I believe the Nano Boost actually did get lost, so they're forced to use the rally, try to sustain the side of sheer cold, not allow themselves to melt at the feet of Raspberry Racers, and it is that Brig. Strebel has found two. The backline claimed by the flail of the Brigitte. There's no health back anymore, Jakaru. And although Cloud trades things out, it doesn't look like Raspberry Racers will be able to come back into this one, as first point gets capped by sheer cold.
Yeah. And they really held that one in there, and they utilized that EMP perfectly, I think. And yeah, sure, Raspberry Racers is sustained for some time, but it was kind of just tipped over the edge, and it was just in their side for a while. They have swapped over to the Reapers, so that kind of tells you that Jaru is kind of giving them a bit of concern here.
Yeah, not dying as much as they were before. I guess, but also kind of being a bit more careful of that backline, being a bit more protective of theirs. So yeah, maybe wanting to force back the monkey a little bit, and it's just trying to swat away the fly that is Zodio right now in the backline, and this makes it a 45 situation, forcing Shikol to possibly regroup.
And Cloud on this off angle is going to be very deadly. That's why Jaru's checking it. Pulse Bomb is ready as well. Coming up to a Blossom from Alexei. Be curious to see how this is utilized here. Imagine a dive TP. It's the best way to get value.
Jared caught our position again. I mean, we've seen Cloud just be the main source of really picking off people one by one, like you said before, surgically, really noticing where people are out of position and taking them out. But Jakaru not buying off more than they can chew. They're allowing Sheer Cold to regroup for the next fight.
Oh, the sleep's found. Dive's gonna go in.
they're going to follow up with a nano boost. I mean, in this situation, why not? You find a sleep on the Arno, damn well follow up on it. Jakaru's been great at that, and Raspberry Racers don't seem to be letting up anytime soon, as they just are basically holding at spawn doors.
Yeah, they were like, all right, we gave you first point, but that's about it. This patented aggression at this point, Jakaru is leading Raspberry Racers to just be this uber aggressive team and to just not let Sheercold have an inch. But Condi's going to force them out here with this EMP. Keep an eye on the Reaper. The Reaper's the main target here for Sheercold.
Yeah. They can find follow up with the EMP as well. That's what they're looking for. They didn't find a lot previously. We found the pulse bomb though. Cloud sticks it because of course they do. They were getting close to that rally as well, so possibly a lot of sustain cut out, and it just seems that it's just the pace of play from Raspberry Racers Geo is just so much faster. Condi has the EMP if they still want to use it, but I don't know why you wouldn't want to regroup at this point.
Thing is, the regrouping is taking too long.
No.
Oh, I think the Blossom got slept there. First time Sleeps actually got what it wanted, and Rally comes out for Sheercold. It's going to allow them to push while Jakaru's completely alone.
But it doesn't matter, Geo. There's the Reaper. That's why they used it. EMP comes through. We'll see the follow-up come into play. Not really, though. I mean, Jakaru's really the only one who found the EMP placed onto them and just popped the Primal, you know? Just was able to keep themselves alive, you know, negate any of that increased damage. And they're just going so deep. They find the Sombra after translocating as well. Alexei on this Reaper as, you know, warding away the front line. They only have 10 seconds in the bank.
10 seconds in the bank. They are going to be able to nano here, but look at the aggression. They're just pushing up to their spawn crumble. Raspberry Racers are just showing ultimate aggression.
Yeah, they're getting close to this nano boost as well. Jara has the Primal, is going to be able to pop that, but not before Condi falls. So a lot of that stalling and the hack being able to follow up on that. I mean, look at the aggression. I mean, they're so far forward. Jara's a little bit confused and is just accepted their fate a little bit there. Getting a little memey towards the end of this this round here on
I mean, at that point the fight was over. So.
Yeah, at that point the round was over. So yeah, can't blame.
So Raspberry Racers are looking very clean, and like it's just their tempo of play is outpacing Sheercold in all of these instances. Jakaru is the spearhead of this team. And we talked about Jakaru, you know, being, you know, a very strong player, Team GB, and they're proving it right now. They're proving everyone why they are one of the tanks.
Prime as well.
Yeah, they're proving why they're one of the tanks to really keep an eye out on this series, because from this performance, it's entirely possible that this is the breakout season for Raspberry Racers. They came in at 6th place in the spring stage, and they're definitely looking to go for a higher position. I mean, if they're playing like this against Sheercold, who was in 7th, so they're about at the same level before, potentially a top 4, top 3 spot for Raspberry Racers.
Maybe. I mean, and also, like we said, this is a pretty new roster. Gustav is the veteran player here, and I actually think it makes a lot of sense. Is quite the backbone of the team, seems at the moment. Whereas Jakaru is kind of the brains. But I mean, so far, great synergy, like you say. Opening up on this Widow though is Cloud.
The brains and the brawn. But yeah, there's a quick Widow peek. Didn't get too much. And now onto the classic Tracer. Sombra completely mirror matchups here, and what I want to see Sheercold do is not play so tepidly and play fast. Oh no!
Oh, the anti-nade. Oh, it's so low. Jaro is so low. I don't think they're going to be able to find the fault. They do find Condi though. I think someone managed to get the Translocator out of the fight very early. And without the Sombra, Jakaru's like, oh, you can't hack me. You can't do tons of damage onto me, so I'm just going to jump in as much as I like. And is looking for that backline, Jakaru. Has to be forced to jump out a little bit though, but a lot of space is already being created for the side of Raspberry Racers.
Yeah, and it's off to the races. And they're still going pedal to the metal, unstoppable. Yoham, however, something to say about it.
Yeah, that was pretty much a solo kill, and trade comes out there from Cloud. Really nice tracking onto Zodial. Dive comes through. Jaro looking to force themselves back by Raspberry Racers, and this just keeps what happening. Jakaru just taking that space. Jaru forced, has nothing else to do except try dive, but yeah, gets taken out.
And Draco says, no, you don't just eliminate my Brigida without retaliation. Trades on the Ana, exactly what you want to be seeing. Raspberry Racers sailing into second point. They're potential touch here, but unlikely. Yeah, Exodial. Yeah, it wasn't too much you could do there. It's forced out. Now Sheer Cold, they have to be careful of the EMP that Alexei has. Condi is nowhere near it. And the rally isn't there to sustain the backline, so you're expecting Alexei to go deep. Jikaru is already there.
I mean, it often happens that Jakaru just doesn't really care about our pace of casting, just decides to go in whenever they feel like it.
Oh, yeah.
And this is really bad news for Sheer Cold because we're now at a point where they are trying to play for this series, the opening of Contenders, and they might be getting swept here as Raspberry Racers, they're not letting up whatsoever.
What a start here for the Raspberry Racers. Can they complete it? They're right there. They're close to sweeping Sheer Cold, the team that eliminated them in the last playoffs. It's vengeance.
Look at this. Look at this engage from Jakaru. Jill, this says it all here. The Nano, such a deep engage. We do see the rally coming out. Strebon not able to find the pick onto Jakaru. Does manage to jump onto point, squish that Tracer like a bug. Hack comes through. Jakaru, that Primal ain't going to save you anytime soon. And Raspberry Racers, as clean and quick as a Formula 1 pit stop, managed to grasp Route 66, get a clean 3-0 in our opening match.
Yeah, they crossed the finish line and not a scratch on the car at all. It's actually going to be Strebor here nicking that play of the game. I was thinking
this was
oh yeah, this was Strebor.
You gotta respect this. I mean,
yeah, Strebor just popped off here. But overall, man, Raspberry Racers are looking so aggressive. Every map that we saw from them, they were looking more and more confident. However, they've been preparing, whatever their scrims have been like, it's all been worth it because they're showcasing a next level style right now against a team who, I want to remind you, before this match, it was an equal across the history of these teams. It was 5-5. It's now 6-5. But the Raspberry Racers, they made it look like they weren't close at all. That's what they made it look like. I mean, Sheer Cold, they were competitive, but Raspberry Racers, they were just on that next level. Ultimately, this is a great start to the season for the Raspberry Racers. This is at the very beginning, and you're starting off with a good footing, right? You're not stepping on a crack. You're not breaking a mother's back. It's all good, and it's clean sailing. Can Raspberry Racers keep this up, though, for the remainder of the group stage?
We'll have to see. I mean, whether they face maybe a team that are either just as competent and just as, clean and efficient as their dive, or whether they go up against a team that maybe want to force them off of the dive by playing maybe Diva or, something a little bit more sturdy, something more bunkery, we'll have to see. But, so far, when it comes to dive and when it comes to just aggression, I think the team that we're going to be looking at and keeping an eye on is definitely Raspberry Racers. We did see plenty of good plays from Sheer Cold. I mean, I think that Jaru is a very competent tank player and showed a lot of very good plays, especially peeling for their backline a lot. And I think definitely I think if there's any map where I'd say they went most toe-to-toe together, keep thinking head to head or toe-to-toe. That's why. Anyway,
head to toe, toes to shoulders,
whatever it is, just full body,
forehead,
comparatively
full body
close. I think Isnambani is a good showing of just how close they can be in that composition, but yeah, the scoreline does say plenty in and of itself with this 3-0.
Well, that may have been a quick match. It's not the only match that's going on. Other matches are underway, and as you can see, nothing is quite finished up as of yet. The closest is Twisted Minds 2-0 against Ataraxia there, and of course you're expecting Twisted Minds to be one of the early front runners in the series, and so far a decent spread, a lot of 1-1s, a little back and forths there. So you're looking pretty good, and the Timeless Project will be continuing on Ex Oblivione's Twitch next, and Ex Oblivione, they're currently in a match against SR Peak Check, and well, it's not currently going so well for them. SR Peak Check, I know they've got a lot of Finnish players on their team. They're definitely representing their country really well so far. But as I say, that's the end of this broadcast for Sheer Cold. It was a good showing overall across the board from Raspberry Racers and Sheer Cold. I mean, it wasn't uncompetitive. It was a 3-0 nonetheless. Raspberry Racers, well, they're just looking clean. And
They're just looking great.
oh, here's this.
That's where we got caught.
Oh, it's a
Actually
doublet
got
out. That was
both.
beautiful.
See, I was
Yeah.
wondering how the backline got onto their side again. So I guess that the stall was just really good from Raspberry Racers. They managed to get that backline, yeah, secured again. But either way, yeah, great plays from both sides and a real a good opener, I would say, Joe. And I think in my eyes, the DPS line on Raspberry Racers is there's a lot of talent there. I mean, Cloud in particular on that Tracer. You can see on Numbani, a lot of the highlights were Cloud.
Yeah, and then just the keen way of playing. I mean, this sleep engage is probably my favorite engage of Route 66, actually. Just across the map sleep that just happens to land, and they're like, yeah, nano me. And they go in. I mean, you gotta love the confidence. So, it's been a great match, but this is the end of this broadcast. Sheer Cold will be taking on !play next. But we, as the Timeless Project, are going to be going over to Ex Oblivione's Twitch chat. Not Twitch chat, but there will be a Twitch chat, their Twitch channel, to observe the game of Oh Yeah versus Ex Oblivione. So that's where you can check us next. But for now, it's been a great match. We'll see you there at Ex Oblivione's Twitch. Don't go anywhere, folks. Get some snacks and get ready for more Contenders EU.